Do we have audio on that, Hobbs? Thumbs up if we do.
Слово «ру» его смерть для вас означает одно и то же.
Oh, shit.
Я доктор Ливси, да. Курение вредно для здоровья. Слово «ру» его смерть для вас означает одно и то же.
Oh, shit.
You are listening to This Week in Clown World with Ben and Hobbs, so sit back, relax, take your black pill, and enjoy the show.
Oh. Oops.
There we go. We got Dr. Livesey kicking us off, so don't drink and smoke. That's what he wants you to know.
Yeah, yes. He says, for you, rum and death should mean the same thing. Yeah.
I'm curious if that will trigger any sort of copyright strike. A 1988 Russian anti-smoking propaganda.
It's Treasure Island. It's late Soviet Treasure Island, so I'm on the wrong camera here, Ben.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay, let me fix that for you. This one?
Yeah. That's you.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that Dr. Livesey or Livesey or however it's pronounced popping up everywhere. But I've seen that original one that we just played there, and I thought it was something from Schoolhouse Rock, honestly, because the animation style is the exact same. And then I got to looking into it, and I'm like, what in the hell is this? And I started digging in, and it's like, no, it's 1988 Soviet Treasure Island plus anti-drinking and anti-smoking PSA. Whatever.
Maybe the Russians will release a new PSA, stay in the country.
Yeah, that seems to be something that's happening over there. But yeah.
I mean, do you want to kick off into that, or?
Yeah, might as well.
I mean, I don't understand what Putin's think. Obviously, they don't have enough equipment to keep throwing shit into Ukraine. It seems like they're getting a little rundown on equipment. So what good's it going to do to call up a bunch of soldiers? Are they going to reenact the old guy in the front gets the gun and the four behind him get a stick? Or
I don't know. They made 100 million Kalashnikov rifles. I think they've got more than enough to pass around. It's like maybe
small arms.
Yeah, it'll be like each guy gets 3 guns. Do the old New York reload when you run out of ammo. Just throw it down and
AK's akimbo.
Yep, there you go. Just like in GoldenEye.
So yeah, it doesn't seem to be going real great for Russia this last week.
No, and something that I knew, months ago is Putin and Zelensky were this close to coming to an agreement back in April, and give it to the mainstream media to go from April till September to actually report on it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they were this close to coming to an agreement. They were basically going to call it Russia gets Luhansk and Donbass and Crimea. The Ukrainians stay on the Ukrainian side of Ukraine. The ethnic Russians stay in the ethnic Russian side. Map lines get redrawn. People stop dying. All's well that ends well. And then Boris Johnson, at the behest of our government, decided to go over there and be like, no, many Ukrainians will die, but that is a sacrifice I am willing to make. Pulling the old Lord Farquaad on him.
Yeah, I don't get it. And here's the thing that bugs me, and it's much the same thing that bugged me about the January 6th thing, is that Russia seems to have half-assed this. And it's not ending well. What is up with all the half-ass going on lately?
Well, it's funny you should say that. I talked to Alex a couple of days ago about it, and he said, he's like, Russia's going for a full mobilization, or at least a larger mobilization. And I'm just like, send everyone you need to end this right now. What the hell is going on? He's like, well, up until this point, they were using an expeditionary force. And in my mind, things like an expeditionary force and like bidding your forces down to the bare minimum estimate that you think you're going to need to accomplish an objective, it seems to always end with more casualties on both sides and a more drawn out and attrition war in the long run. So I'm just like, the
shock and awe.
Exactly. The Blitzkrieg in World War II worked because they sent everything.
When has Blitzkrieg not worked? When you have it.
Exactly. So I don't know if like he had an advisor or if it was just the modern day sensibilities or something that was telling him to just like take the kid gloves approach, because if you go in too aggressive, then it's going to look bad on the world stage, and everybody's going to be against you, and it could cause the West to mobilize against you. And surprise, guess what happened when he did the expeditionary force approach? The West, or the United States, has thrown $80 billion at this problem, which we went over 2 weeks ago, is more than Russia's entire defense budget, plus whatever the European Union and the UK have thrown into the mix. We're throwing gobs of money and advanced weaponry at Russia's expeditionary force that they put in there for who knows. And now thousands of civilians have died. Thousands of Russian troops have died. hundreds, if not thousands, of pieces of heavy Russian equipment.
Oh, that's
have,
the worst part. I mean,
yeah,
not to sound callous, but people are easy to replace.
yeah, and so now they're doing this huge mobilization, and Putin's like, I will use tactical battlefield nukes if provoked.
Yeah,
And it's like,
so much for not looking like the bad guy.
yeah, precisely. And part of me thinks that this is exactly what our government wanted. This is what they wanted. They wanted to get into a full blown out military affair with possible use of nuclear weapons, because they've been wanting to reduce Moscow to a crater since the 1940s. That was one that after we dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Patton wanted to keep the war going to Moscow. And he's like, we've got this awesome new bomb now, and they don't. And Churchill and the rest of the Europeans were like, no, we've had enough war. I know you Americans just got into this and you guys are still all full of piss and vinegar and cocksuring yourselves, but we've been doing this for years now and we'd like to take a rest, please. So,
Well, and to the tactical nuke thing, I mean, there's kind of rules of warfare that aren't really written down, and they're kind of decided during each conflict. You know, World War I had them, World War II had them. So like, and the thing is, when you break one of those rules, like World War I, somebody used gas, and it was like everybody hated that, so we're not going to do that. Well, the Germans got pushed into a corner, gas went out, and then they got hit doubly with gas from the other side. And that seems how it always seems to go. Once there's a rule made and you decide, all right, well, I'm going to be the one to break it because I need to, you get slammed with it. Now, the nukes dropped on Japan. There wasn't really a rule about nukes up to that point that was kind of accepted. And once again, is the case, well, everybody hated that, and nukes haven't been used since. So I think if Russia opens a can of worms that, all right, well, it's okay to use tactical nukes if you pick on a smaller guy and he starts to kick your ass. So is the United States kind of hoping Russia does that so they can say, well, I mean, tactical nukes are, I mean, how quick would Afghanistan have been if tac nukes were an option?
Well, tac nukes are always an option.
But I mean, if it's okay to
Right.
whip out some tac nukes if you got them against a lesser opponent.
Yeah, and I know what you're saying. The military always has that stuff in their back pocket as a plan. Now, no, like you said, if we would have used tactical battlefield nukes, like even a pocket nuke, like 155, a nuclear warhead that's measured in like not megatons, which is a city killer, not even kilotons, but like centatons, hundreds of tons of TNT, not thousands or millions or anything like that. Even if we would have used one of these miniature, pocket nukes, it still would have been one of those things on the world stage where they've been like, whoa, because nuclear weapons they have fallout, they have long lasting secondary knock-on effects. And I think that when you look at it in isolation and you say that the United States and the West are trying to provoke Russia into using nuclear weapons so that we can use nuclear weapons on them, it sounds kind of insane. But like most of the things like this that we talk about on this show, if you pan out, you stop looking at the tree and you start seeing the forest, one of the major side effects that I've seen published in I think it was the Atlantic and a couple other of the big like globalist type 40-pound brain publications is that even a limited nuclear exchange between the great powers, we're talking like a couple of battlefield tac nukes and maybe one or two city killers exchange on each side, is going to throw enough debris into the atmosphere to cause a mini nuclear ice age enough to starve hundreds of millions of people around the world. And when you start seeing the other things that have been kind of orchestrated in the past couple of years, with the supply line breaking down, the increased price, I can't talk tonight, the increased prices of things like fertilizer and diesel fuel and everything else that's needed to keep a steady supply line for the food market going, they're already talking about maybe 120 million more people are going to starve to death in the next couple of years because of the whole COVID overreaction.
Mhm.
How much more is a limited nuclear exchange going to break that supply line? And then things start to make a little bit more sense if you're looking at it through the lens of the big picture is a not a full scale extinction level event, but at least like a culling of the herd, the third world undesirables, the useless eaters, as they see the people that live in like sub-Saharan Africa and the Middle West. You know, those low IQ lesser thans, the mud races, as Margaret Sanger used to call them. Then it starts to make a little bit more sense. You dig?
Yeah, and I don't think the West decides that Russia using tactical nukes would be an all-out nuclear warfare. I think if Russia uses tactical nukes, I think the West starts slipping some nukes to Ukraine at that point. And they're like, well, here they are. If you use them, you use them, but they used them on you.
Yeah.
And they can basically wash their hands of it because everybody's pissed off at Russia at that point. I mean, if we started sliding nukes into Ukraine right now, it would not probably go over very well. But if
I
Russia's
wouldn't be surprised if there's already
some sitting around over there, that's what I mean. So Russia popping a couple of those off gives Ukraine the green light to do the same. And Moscow's within easy distance of the Ukraine.
Yeah.
And who knows if that's what they go for? Maybe they just decide to wipe out some of their troops. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, you got other, like, what is it? St. Petersburg is also like basically everything important in Russia is in Western Russia, right there by Ukraine and Western Europe. You know, the rest of Russia, except for like, what is it? Vladivostok over on the East Coast. Everything else is pretty much open, empty territory.
Well, I saw they were already evacuating out of the seaport over there on the Crimea because they were worried they couldn't protect it anymore. At least that's what the satellite photos showed. And, one thing I'm surprised in all this is the remarkable restraint that Poland has shown in not deciding they wanted Belarus back.
Well, I mean, Belarus is a UN recognized sovereign nation, and Poland getting itchy for reclaiming territory very well could trigger the Article 5 NATO agreement, which would,
Belarus isn't part of the. I mean, they're a Russian puppet at this point. I mean, I doubt the West would give a shit if Poland decided to find a reason to go in there.
Do what? I couldn't hear that.
I said I'd be surprised if the West would give a shit if Poland found a reason to go into Belarus at this point.
Well, I don't think the West would so much as give a shit as it would be if Poland decided they wanted to go into Belarus, get a little froggy, take back some territory, and Belarus hit back hard. Like, Poland blitzes in, they take some territory. Belarus, they were caught on the back foot, but they regroup, they push back, and maybe they push into Poland a little bit. Then
a large
Article
part
5.
of Belarus depends on Russia for protection, though.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably not a real great option for them at this point.
No, but this whole like the Article 5 NATO agreements and the agreements between Russia and Belarus and some of those surrounding areas. I mean, there's a whole thing kicking off between like Armenia and Azerbaijan.
Yeah, and that's putting a test on if Russia's going to do anything.
Right. This whole like tangled web of alliances just has big World War I vibes.
Kind of. The trench warfare going on in Ukraine at this point too.
Yep. Trench warfare, new and interesting weapons being tested out. The alliance is going on between, well, this guy's my friend and this guy's my friend, but my two friends are fighting with each other. So whose side do I take now? And you got wild cards like Turkey and India that, God knows what either of those guys are going to do.
Well, yeah, and the Azerbaijan thing is interesting because they're like, geez, I can't keep straight who's on who's. I think can't keep straight who's on whose side over there. Is Azerbaijan part of that Russian protection, or is it Armenia?
It's here.
I think
I think
Azerbaijan is the one protected by Russia, right? No,
yeah. Azerbaijan is
no, wait, is the aggressor. Armenia is protected by Russia. I'm pretty sure. Anyways, so Armenia calls Russia, is asking Russia for help, and Russia's like, new phone, who dis? And they're just left to languish over there.
yes. Sorry, I'm looking up this this thing that I heard about the other day. I was looking for the name, but there is a very interesting Greek Orthodox prophecy by I know it sounds weird. I know it sounds super weird, but it's by a guy named Elder Paisios of Athos, or Paisios the Athenite.
Okay.
And so the prophecy, see if I can find a little bit of it. It's a really weird prophecy that's saying that there are a number of geopolitical prophecies have been credited to Elder Paisios. These include the prediction that a war between Turkey and Russia will come out, and that this war will lead
that's
to
already stewing.
Yeah, this will lead to a restoration of Greater Greece and the liberation of other lands, including Albania, the rest of Macedonia, and Byzantium, Constantinople, and the conversion of part of the Turks away from Islam and into Orthodox Christianity. So 5 years ago, most people were saying that this is absolutely insane because of the geopolitical alliances and everything in that region. But within the last 3 or 4 weeks, things have metastasized to the point where this prophecy is looking a lot more likely. And I'd have to read through this article again to get the whole thing, so I'm not going to speculate too much exactly on what it goes over, because I just kind of heard it in passing. But the gist of it is that, just like we were talking about, the tangled alliances between places like Armenia, Azerbaijan, the tension and the fighting between Greece and Turkey that's gone on for 1,000 years or more. And then you have Cyprus and their strained relationship with Turkey. You have Russia's frenemy type status with Turkey. They supply Turkey with a lot of goods and a lot of military equipment, but Turkey is also a NATO member. Lots of tanglings are going on over there, but with the current stresses between unaffiliated states like Azerbaijan and Armenia, or semi states like Turkey and Greece and everything, things are getting to the point where his prophecy is basically saying that a war is going to break out in which Turkey will be divided into 3 different pieces. One huge chunk will go to Greece. 1/3 of the Turkish population will be completely annihilated, and 1/3 of the Turkish population will convert to Orthodox Christianity and be absorbed into the surrounding orthodoxy. It's nuts, but the way things are going, nothing surprises me anymore.
Well, I think Turkey's on the right track, flexing some muscle, while Russia's looking a little weak at this point. And they can really throw some sanctions on Russia too, I believe. And that whole, I'm sure they'd love to have control over the sea over there. So it's interesting. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how Turkey plays out. They're kind of the wild card at this point.
Yeah, and with the access to the Black Sea that they control, they were flexing on Russia, saying that you cannot let your ships pass unless they are passing through on the way to a home port. And that kind of,
Well, and here's a big thing that'll hurt Russia too. I saw the story that apparently Turkey they don't use Visa or whatever. They use Russia's system, whatever it's called. Like, I forget what it's called, MER or something maybe.
Mhm.
But Turkey uses Russia's debit and credit card system. And they were talking about moving to a Western system of Visa or MasterCard or whatever, which is a pretty big deal. That's a lot of liquid cash that would be pulled away from Russia. And I mean, they kind of need that right now.
yeah, and the fact that Turkey, being a NATO ally, a NATO signatory, was using the
It's always
Russian.
been so weird to me that they were part of NATO early on. I need to look up at why that came to be. It just makes no sense to me.
It was over the protestation of the Greeks, but I think that the geographic location of Turkey at the time made NATO be like, it's better to have them on our side than not.
Right.
So, it's one of those, we'll deal with the lesser of two evils, but I believe that Turkish leaders, especially a snake in the grass like Erdogan, he knows that his country is located in a strategically vital area, and so he's probably trying to have his cake and eat it too. Glom on to the big dog, the NATO defense, while also having a geographically convenient banking and financial system that more than likely is riddled with all sorts of graft and corruption and everything else like the post-Soviet sphere is. So who knows what kind of money laundering that the Russian banking system allows him to get away with. So he's probably sitting pretty right up until recently.
Oh yeah, I'm sure once he said, we're looking at changing, a whole bunch of money came. I mean, possible money came to him from the West on, switch over to our system.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's been gatekeeping the migrant crisis since like 2012 when they opened the doors. He threatened Europe.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, if they didn't let him into the EU, then he would unleash the floodgates of these migrants, which is basically using people as a biological weapon. Huge swarms of disaffected, dislocated people from the Middle East that were fleeing war. Like, as much posturing as the EU leadership did about how refugees welcome and diversity is our strength and all of this shit, the fact that Turkey used them as a threat and it worked kind of puts that sentiment to task, don't you think?
Kind of like busing them to Martha's Vineyard.
Almost.
Which was another good story from last week. And in the defense of the people in Martha's Vineyard, I went there this last summer while I was driving around the Northeast, and they didn't even want me there. So, I'm sure they didn't want migrants there, even if all the media is saying they welcomed them with open arms and stuck them on a cruise ship, I guess, and cheered them away.
Yeah, it took 44 hours to mobilize the fucking army to relocate them to a tent city on a military base. Oh, but they enriched us. But they can enrich us from over there. Hypocrites.
That is the Northeast in a nutshell. Minorities enrich us, but they can enrich us from over there.
Yeah.
After they cook my food and get my coffee for me.
Mow my lawn, nanny my kids.
Lawn. Yeah. That's the Northeast in a nutshell. And I guess now they're trying to sue DeSantis over it. I'm not sure what laws you're breaking by taking a person in the country illegally and sending.
They're saying that it was human trafficking, but then Ron DeSantis has all the receipts to say, no, we asked them if they wanted to go to Martha's Vineyard, and they said, yeah, sure.
Shit, it seemed like a better option than some crap ass border town, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, maybe they deceived him a little bit, but no more than I mean, they're not going to be any worse off up there than they will on Texas or Arizona.
An unplanned, unexpected day trip to Martha's Vineyard is better than a planned trip to Eagle Pass, Texas, any day of the week. Even if you're only there for 44 hours, having somebody else pay for it and just being able to look around at all the giant mansions on the island would be like, yeah, this is nice. This is
I mean, it was
lot-
it was interesting to see how rich people are living. The thing is, almost that whole area, like half the houses there aren't even lived in. You know, they're
No.
maybe lived in once a month, maybe a couple times a month. It's all just a weird, fake. I don't know. What was that movie where they built Pleasantville? A large part of the Northeast just seems like Pleasantville. It's just a fabricated, weird, fake thing for rich people to go hang out on the weekends in a lot of those coastal towns.
Yeah. I was listening to Lotus Eaters podcast the other day, and they were talking about the Martha's Vineyard excursion. And one of them said that if DeSantis is going to do this and he's going to continue to do it, he should just go all out and like chartered flight, first class, wine and dine the migrants and tell them this is what you can expect in Martha's Vineyard. And if you don't get it, maybe you should just start burning the place down until you do.
Well, I love that they how they're sending them to the places that want to be say they're sanctuary cities. That's the cherry on it. And then they show, I mean, it's easy to say that when the border is 2,000 miles away.
Yep.
But once they're showing up right there, you change your mind pretty quick, I guess.
Yeah. It's like you said, when the border is not in your backyard, it's really easy to virtue signal. You know, it's almost like the sentiment is, we'll give you sanctuary if you can get here. And then when somebody offers to facilitate the arrival, it's like, oh, wait. it's like, hold on. This whole operation was your idea.
Yeah. So I expect those to keep up. They've already said they've got other cities in mind that they're going to target. So it's a good time. I guess they're getting plenty of funding from third-party sources now too. It's not coming out of the taxpayers' pocketbook to fund those flights.
And I can guarantee you that this would be the easiest crowdfunding campaign to do. Like, I'd chip in a $5 for this. It's like, hey, you want to, since funding these sorts of things on the taxpayer dole looks a little bit suspicious, would you chip in for a charter flight for 50 migrants to Martha's Vineyard? Be like, fucking sign me up.
Yeah. Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah.
Cape Cod was another one. Same thing. And I saw some Democrat lawmakers were calling on the federal government to punish DeSantis and Abbott over it.
Yeah.
It's like, if you ever want to reignite the whole Boog thing, start asking the federal government to crack down on a governor from Florida or Texas.
Yeah, and especially a super popular one like DeSantis is. I'm personally waiting for the technology to advance to the point where we can put the red laser eye LEDs, actually implant them into Ron DeSantis, and he could just, like look at the camera, the glowing red eyes. Florida man strikes again.
Yeah, I could just imagine it if the feds try to do anything to DeSantis or Abbott. We'll have a whole come and take it situation going on, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. And unlike a lot of these other governors, I think that you'd actually see a popular civilian mobilization to protect the guy.
Yeah, that's different than a lot of other things. If the federals decide to crack down on a specific state, that is a situation that would be kind of sticky.
Yeah, definitely.
And speaking of federals cracking down on states, your buddy Fauci had some revelations. Did you see those?
No, I didn't. What did the science have to say now?
Well, he commented that, sometimes when you make a draconian law, such as a lockdown, there's unintended consequences. because they were asking about the how students have the worst math and reading scores since in decades.
Yeah.
And Fauci says, well, sometimes when there's draconian laws made, there's unintended consequences. Like, well, you think, you asshole? What?
Just stupid hayseeds out here in flyover country have just been saying this for the past 2.5 years.
Yeah, let's fuck up an
dipshit.
entire generation to save some boomers.
And ironically, a lot of the boomers got it anyways and ended up living. So who cares?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, and then old Joe said the pandemic's over, and that got his handlers scrambling. Did you see that one?
oh, good old fucking Golden Joe is the gift that keeps on giving,
Yeah.
isn't he?
And I mean, immediately the next morning, oh, that's not what he meant. I mean, so much spin going on from the media and people from the White House saying, you're taking it wrong. The pandemic isn't. It's like, said it right here. Joe came right out of Joe's mouth. Pandemic is over.
Yeah. It's like who's really in charge?
That's the worst part that bugs me. I mean, okay, we got a couple dudes pulling his strings. At least let us know who the dudes are. I mean,
Right. Yeah. I think Ron Klain, who is his chief of staff and was one of Obama's, upper muckety mucks, and and maybe Valerie Jarrett, maybe Obama himself is pulling some strings in the background when he's not, putting on the kit bash football pad armor and defending his compound in Martha's Vineyard from the marauding migrants coming to take what's his. This is all mine.
Yeah, that's what bugs me the most. I could care less if it's a coalition of people just getting him to do stuff, but it'd be nice to know who it is.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows that the president takes some advice, but Biden is just not running anything.
But yeah, there's a difference between taking advice and literally everything you say on a live mic is walked back the next day.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, we're gonna, like he said the other day that if China attacks Taiwan militarily, we will defend Taiwan. Straight out of his mouth.
That's the other one he said.
Yep, straight out said.
I think it was the same meeting.
Yeah, it might have been that god awful 60 Minutes episode. Says we will defend Taiwan militarily, and the very next day they're like, "Oh no, the White House would like to clarify that the government's position hasn't changed regarding China and Taiwan." The White House? You
mean the president? I mean,
yeah, it's like I thought the president was the White House. These things are synonymous with each other. So whose policy has not changed? Because obviously Joe Biden's policy has changed, and he's the president, or at least he thinks it's changed. So whose policy didn't change? Whose policy is the White House's? Like,
we may never know.
We will never know. This is going to be like what they were testing for with the mRNA vaccines. We have suspicions. We have speculation. We can come up with some pretty good guesses, but we will probably never know with 100% certainty what the fuck is going on here.
So is Joe Biden going to be the new normal from here on out? We just get some goofy puppet that all the potato heads will vote for, and you have this shadow government behind them?
God, at least the UK has the balls to have a shadow. Like they have a couple of positions that are like shadow magistrate of the exchequer or something like that. They just throw it right out there in your face. Like, yeah, the shadow prime minister. Yeah. What are you gonna do about it?
Right.
Yeah, it's yeah. Let's take some comments here.
You have to pass a bill to find out what's in it. Yeah, that still happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they even tell their own people. Even the Democrats will vote for stuff they don't know what's in it. They're just told vote for it. Biden has to be the most annoying puppet to use, though. You have to give ungodly amounts of meds just to damage control the next day. Yeah, that's probably a terrible puppet to have to control that doesn't listen and doesn't know where he is half the time.
I swear to God, the guy's got like an insulin pump thing, like an automatic dispenser, but it's full of Adderall. That's
Something. I mean, I saw that he's going. Did you see where he got spray tanned also?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, he for a 60 Minutes interview, he got a little spray tanned. They showed him before and after. And I saw somebody commented, "For God's sake, can't we just get away from the orange men?"
This orange man is legitimately bad, though.
The feds cracked down on Florida or Texas, along with the status already following Uncle Joey's call against MAGA extremists. The Troubles USA edition. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah,
Good luck fighting Florida man, Fed boys.
yeah, him and all the white trash Afghanistanis up in Appalachia, and but he brings up the other story from the day that isn't getting nearly as much news, and that's that kid in North Dakota that got run over.
Yeah,
That's nuts.
haven't seen it anywhere. Well, I think I follow some leftist stuff. I think it did pop up somewhere.
Fox News reported on it, but that's to be expected.
I thought I saw it was on MSNBC.com, but yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah,
Out on bail, even.
yeah. Posted $50,000 bail, but please tell me about January 6th in Charlottesville one more time.
Yeah, I mean, 50,000. He probably didn't have to pay that much either. I mean, they're amount 10% of it, so he got a bondsman to pay most of it. I mean, he probably just paid a fraction of that, but still, that's pretty low for murdering somebody with your car, I would think.
Yeah.
Especially when he'd probably be a flight risk. Florida man, instead of MW dogs, they have MW Crocs.
Oh God. Yeah, but going back to that North Dakota thing, he turned himself in. So I don't think he's a flight risk.
Well, he went kind of sketchy how he turned himself in, though. He ran to his house and then called the cops. I don't know.
Yeah, he called the cops and said, I intentionally ran over someone because he was part of a Republican extremist group, and I thought he was calling people to come and get me. Dude was in his car chasing this kid around. Kid was on the phone with his mom being like, Mom, I'm scared. Come get me. This guy's trying to run me over. And by the time she got there, he had run this kid over.
And where was this at? This wasn't even in a typically blue area, was it?
No, in North Dakota.
Yeah. I don't know that there's a blue area to be found in North Dakota. So I'd be curious what type of Republican event this guy thought it was.
It was a street dance.
Okay.
They were at a street dance, and he got into an argument with this kid, and I guess the kid made him look like a fool and pissed him off, and so the guy got in his car and ran him over. But because he was a Republican, or assumed to be a Republican because he held socially conservative views, and the president is out there, MAGA Republicans are terrorists. You gotta shoot them on sight.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's and the guy, he's out on 50,000 bail, and you're right, he probably paid a fraction of it, having a bondsman. And all he has to do is just chill in his house. He's never gonna have to worry about it. And he'll go to trial, and in North Dakota, he'll have a jury of his peers. He'll probably get the fucking chair, and good for it.
Oh yeah, that will not go over well. He'll probably have to. I mean, can you request to move to a whole nother state? I don't even.
No. He'll get the chair, and I don't know if have you seen pictures of the kid? He's 18 years old. He's just like a typical goofy looking Zoomer teenager. He wasn't like some tatted up militia member or anything.
Right.
He had like the goofy frosted tip mulatto perm thing going on, and had braces and glasses kind of like yours and mine, the thick black frame. Just a goofy Zoomer kid.
MAGA hat on, maybe that's what set the guy off.
They got into an argument, they said. That's what I've been hearing. Got into an argument, got into a political discussion, and he's probably made a fool out of him because the guy that did the killing was 41 years old. So you get your shit pushed in by an 18-year-old kid. Run him over with a car.
Yeah, I could just imagine if that was reversed. So what we would have a white
Charlottesville.
man.
Charlottesville. We've already seen this. And that dude is rotting in prison for first-degree murder.
Yeah. So hopefully this guy gets at least that much. I mean, it's obvious it was planned. You don't in the spur of the moment start your car. I mean, it's not like they were fighting and he stabbed him. I mean, sometimes it gets spur of the moment. I mean, going to your car, starting it up and chasing him down, running him over is not a spur of the moment sort of thing for manslaughter.
Right. Yeah, that's a plan. That's premeditated. That is, I'm going to run this person over, and the fact that there was enough time elapsed between the argument, the getting in the car, and the kid getting on the phone knowing that he was in danger, trying to contact his mom to come get him out of a sticky situation. Mm-hmm. That's motive, that's intent, that's follow through, that's planning.
Yep.
But I'm no lawyer. Yeah, we got a couple other here. Ski Mask, Armalite, and Irish folk songs in the distance. I can dig it.
No, it'd have to be bluegrass down there, probably.
Depending on where you're at. Yeah.
Mac Miller blaring.
Everyone at Manoa is the blues pretty
bad.
bad.
Minot's the air base in North Dakota. So, yeah, I guess you would get some lefties around there. Is that where it happened at? Was it around Minot?
No idea. I have to look into it a little bit more, but it's just outrageous that the guy's out on his own recognizance right now. So last week we didn't have a show.
Right.
I was on the road. I don't know how many people have followed our Instagram page, but I posted a couple of photos on the old gram. On our way back from Idaho, I swung into Kalispell, Montana, and hung out and spent the night with Lyman Bishop, owner of Hoplite Armor, friend of the show. All around cool guy. Like he's a pretty cool dude to hang around with.
Did you try on any prototypes?
No, I didn't try on any prototypes, but I did see the warehouse. And he's got a lot of armor hanging out in there. And while I was there, got a set of size small level 4 plates for the wife's vest. So she doesn't want to put them on. they're a little heavy, but they're
Well, they're
in there
4.
now.
What do you? I mean.
Huh?
Level 4 though, they're going to be that probably.
Yeah, a little chunky. He's got some lightweight stuff in there that's like $3,000 for a pair, but they're level 4 and they're like holding a piece of balsa wood and they float. So it's nuts. It's like, oh yeah, this piece of particle board that you're holding. Oh yeah, it'll stop a 30-06 AP. Yeah, the black tip, and it's like, Jesus Christ, what'll they come up with next?
That had to be pretty amazing to see that.
It was a simple little setup, but he's got everything pretty organized, and it was fun to see where the armor comes from, and good to meet the man himself. He's down to earth guy. And if you guys are out there watching and you need some plates, hoplitearmor.com. He says business has slowed down because of the economy and everything. But if you got some disposable income, go throw it his way. He's got a good product and he's a good man.
So how bad is Idaho? Is it really becoming new California?
Well, according to my mom, a lot of the Californians that are moving into the area where she was just at are actually not the Silicon Valley dweebs. They're the fleeing red staters. Yeah, the red state Californians that are just like, I can't put up with this shit anymore. I'm moving to Idaho, and they're bringing their big California bucks with them, and they're driving the cost of everything up. But for the most part, they're all pretty good people up there. While I was up there, Trump shit everywhere, like signs and flags and fuck Joe Biden T-shirts. I mean, just everything was. So yeah, they're laying it on a little thick, but it's kind of like that American History X line where he's like, "You see this? It means not welcome."
Yeah, we have some of that out on this side of the state. I see a lot. Let's Go Brandon flags are popular over here, so they're a little more relaxed, I guess, from fuck Joe Biden and whatnot. But
Yeah,
I see a lot of Let's Go Brandon.
you got to keep it PG for the kiddos.
Yeah. So yeah, that was cool. It took a and I there will not be a show next week. I am going to be out of town. So for those of you that were hoping to catch us next week with updates, will not happen. It might if I can get a laptop rounded up on good Wi-Fi, but I don't think it will.
Yeah, summertime's ending. You got to get your last little bit of fun in while you can.
Yep. And I think that's all we had for this week. Did we miss any? I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm sure we missed something. We always do, but got the important stuff in.
How's that land selling thing going for Hoplite? I don't know that he.
I haven't heard anything about it. And you know what? I completely spaced it off. I didn't ask him about it either.
So that's somebody that knows the deep cuts of Hoplite right there. Messianic Minarchist. Yeah, he brought that up, and I don't know that he actually sold any. I didn't hear of anybody doing it, but who knows?
Yeah, he's got a nice little spread of land out there where he's at. It's he's pretty well situated out there, and I wish him the best. He's got some plans, so we'll see where it goes.
Somebody said the flag behind you is popular in their neck of the woods. Damn.
That's Luke.
Yeah, that's Luke. Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, that's all we had for this week. Next week, no show unless I get a laptop set up. Hopefully we don't all get in a nuclear holocaust because Russia feels like they're pushing a corner. So
R.I.P. Nathan, but that's what you get for living next to Sack.
yeah, I'm out here in the nukes too. So you guys have fun in the apocalypse. I'll just be a shadow on a wall somewhere.
Glowing one.
Yeah, a glowing shadow against the wall, living among the nuke sites. So stay tuned for that and stay honky.